Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gnosis the God. Today I'm bringing you guys a DC Universe Online video on combat rating, also known as CR. As you can see in the chat there, you'll see people spamming what their CR is. So you got 103 DPS CR, whatever. But combat rating. So this is going to be a super kind of confusing thing, especially right when you hit level 30. So I did do a video on this, but it was unclear. A lot of pieces of it were unclear, and I got a lot of questions in the comments. But I thought I'd just make an updated version of this. The game has been changing a lot since I made that video as well. So you just turned level 30, and you come to the Watchtower. Now this is where you're going to be raising your combat rating for the most part. So first thing I'm going to look at, guys, is your stats. Now, if you come down here, you're going to see combat rating minus 89, and your PvP combat rating minus 86. Okay, so that's where you can find it. Just go into inventory and stats, but I'm going to decline that. We do not want to do that. Batcave 1v1. Okay, but anyways, back to the topic of combat rating. Now, combat rating is actually a measure of how good your gear is. Now, it doesn't actually, when I say how good it is, I actually just mean the item level of that piece of gear. Most of the time, if it has a higher CR, it's going, most of the time, if it has a higher item level, it's going to be a better item. But that's not always the case. So, let's see. I'm actually wearing PvP gear here, so some of these are. So, let's just look at my shoulders here. So, as you can say, it's the corrupted, fiendish Chitolian Pauldrons, or however you pronounce that. But if you look down to the bottom, you'll see it says 85 item level. Now, that is the item level of this particular one. Most of these are 85 because they're actually that same set of armor. But here I have a different one I got from the Nexus, and this one's actually 86. And I've got a back piece 85, neck pieces that are 81, and rings that are 81. So different pieces of armor each have their individual item rating. In that, you're going to want a higher item rating because that is going to increase your combat rating. So your combat rating is actually calculated by how it's kind of, there's this formula. You guys could look it up online. I might do a video on it sometime, but there's actually a formula. Some guy made a video on it that actually works perfectly, and you guys can just calculate it up yourselves to check it out to make sure it works. But it does work. It works for me. I use it before I buy new pieces of armor to see whether or not that's actually going to raise my combat rating. Now, raising your combat rating is an crucial part of DC Universe Online because you will not be able to access later pieces of the game, later content, until you upgrade until you raise your combat rating. So here you've already done these if you're below level 30, but once you hit level 30, you're gonna see alerts tier 1. Oops, let's scroll up here. So alerts tier 1, and you've got Area 51, Ace Chemicals, Watchtower Containment Facility, and not even Smallville. That requires a higher CR. But if you'll have these three guys, all right? So these are your alerts. So let's just look at area. Okay, so these, you'll have the three of those, but let's look at Smallville because that actually requires a combat rating. Now, if you look in the description of the alert, it actually says size 4 players, and under that it says required combat rating 34. You will not be able to access this alert until you are combat rating 34. So that could be, raising it to 34 could mean anything from buying iconic suits, which I will get to that, or just picking up gear in the content you're running. Now that doesn't always work, especially in the case of lower tier alerts or just content. But as you get higher up, that gear could actually even be even better. A lot of times is actually better than the iconic suits. So once again, guys, you'll just raise that combat rating up, and as you get better gear, you'll be progressing through the game and slowly unlocking new tiers of content to do and new stuff, new alerts and raids and duos to play. And that's why the game's fun. It's just that progression, right, guys? And then that's new loot, and it works like that. Okay, so but 8-player raids that actually requires CR 80 or CR 40, so you're gonna need that to get into these. Right, so that's, just to sum up what I've said, guys, combat rating is the measurement of how good, or not even how good, why do I keep saying that? It is the measurement of the item level of your gear. Now, if I have an item level 85 piece, that does not necessarily mean that my combat rating is going to be 85. It's actually 89 right now because it's kind of an average of the gear that you've got. Another major point you guys should think about is that as soon as you get that piece of armor into your inventory and you can equip it, it will raise your combat rating, whether or not you're wearing it. So I'm actually wearing PvP, so I'm wearing this aeronaut like crap PvP armor, right? This chest piece. Actually, in my inventory, if I come over here, I have the here it is up here. I actually have the Scion of Ion chest piece. In that's what's contributing to my combat rating, because that's actually 90 combat rating, or item level, excuse me. So that's the one contributing to my my stats. So if you guys, another thing I got a lot of questions about my first video was, now Gnosis, if you delete any piece of gear, will your combat rating lower? So say I got this Scion of Ion chest piece, right, guys? It raised my combat rating up. But I say I got a better, I got something with better stats but a worse item level. If I delete that Scion of Ion chest piece to save room in my inventory, will that lower my combat rating? With my experience, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and say no. So you guys, if you guys don't disagree with this in the comments, go ahead and tell me. But from my experience, it's no. Now, at first, I thought that if you deleted it, it will lower your combat rating. But actually, I completely removed every piece of PvP armor from my inventory at one time. Deleted it, gone, right? Because I wasn't doing PvP and I just thought it was a waste of space, which was totally idiotic of me. But anyways, PvP combat rating stayed exactly the same. It stayed 86. Therefore, deleting it does not lower your combat rating. That's a huge thing that you guys should be aware of. All right. Now let's get into a big chunk of raising your combat rating, guys. Iconic battle suits. Now the way that you're gonna get this, access any of these iconic battle suits, is by being in the watchtower. So to get to the watchtower, you can just go ahead and use the teleporters in any MPD station if you're a hero, or any like nightclub if you're a villain. So and if you're a villain, it'll be the Hall of Doom. It's pretty much the same, guys. But Hall of Doom, watchtower, whatever. For heroes, you'll come into, for example here, I'm in the meta wing. It varies for different for the different pieces, but each one has its magic, meta, and tech all have tier 1 battle suits. So if you come over here, guys, you see this is tier 2. So if you guys hit level 30, you're not going to be able to access that. But you're going to want to come over here to your right, and you've got the original flash here. It's telling you the tier 1 piece of PvE armor. Now that PvE armor has an item level of 40, right? So it costs 39 marks of triumph, and it is item level 46, actually. So there it is, guys. Item level 46. Now, once again, guys, buying one piece of this is not going to shoot your freaking combat rating up to 46. You're going to have to get, in theory, to get that, I think you'd have to get every piece of this gear, and your combat rating would be 46. Okay, guys, so right, so this is 46, okay? So after you've run your alerts, you've run your duos, you run your whatever, your raids, you're going to get Marks of Triumph. You can use those Marks of Triumph to buy iconic battle suits, therefore raising your combat rating, because those iconic battle suits will most likely have a better item level than what you've got. Now, mostly, guys, you're going to be looking for stats. At the earlier games, I just don't even care about stats. I mostly look for item level. So make sure that the item level, or the stats too, are not lower than your current piece of armor. Now, my chest piece is item level 90. This chest piece is 46. Obviously, putting this into my inventory is not going to raise my combat rating. Even if I equip it, it's not going to do anything. So I wouldn't buy that, right? Because this is tier 1. And then you've got your tier 2 over in the center here. There it is, guys. This is 53, I believe. Power Girl is selling that that iconic suit. Then you've got tier 3 and tier 5 in here, and you've got tier 4 over in the Magic Wing. So that's where the iconic battle suits are, guys. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the video. I just want to talk about everything. Just quick sum of what I've talked about so far. Combat rating, also known as CR, is a measure of the item level of your gear. That item level does not mean that's not going to depict your combat rating. It's a calculation. It's all calculated together in some weird formula, and it makes a combat rating. Each piece of gear has a different effect on your combat rating. The chest and the legs have the most. For example, the chest and the legs have the most effect on your combat rating, and the rings have the least. Okay. So it's a measure of that, guys. Now, to raise it, the fastest way to raise it, in my opinion, when you're starting off and you're a fresh level 30, is to do those little content, those duos, alerts, and raids to get your Marks of Triumph. I even have a video on a fast way to get Marks of Triumph if you have the Battle for Earth DLC, so check that out if you're tier 1. That will just get you a ton of marks. But anyways, to get those Marks of Triumph, buy your tier 1 set. Now, don't waste your Marks of Triumph buying every piece of the set. Especially if you guys are more skilled at DCUO, you aren't going to need those extra stats. So wait, just get every piece, starting with the chest piece. Don't get like the waist or something first, because that's not going to raise your combat rating as much as your chest or your legs. Get the chest, the legs. This is what I do, guys. Get my marks, right? Get the chest piece, more marks, legs, more marks, head, more marks, shoulder, so on and so forth, until my combat rating has increased enough for me to be tier 2, in which case I can get more Marks of Triumph and access the tier 2 iconic suit. Then the cycle continues until we start getting up to where the big boys are, where I am right now, in tier 5 and 6, where actually the raids and the alerts can actually provide better armor than the iconic suits as far as combat rating goes, and stats go for that matter. So there you have it, guys. I really hope this video helped you guys out. I know combat rating can be a super confusing thing, especially if you guys are a fresh level 30. Make sure to like the video if it did help you out, and subscribe for more DC Universe Online tutorials, let's plays, and just updates on other video games and me playing some other fun games, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.